Well, hello, this is Robertaugustdemeijer, and I'm making a Let's Play on my own game called Final Fantasy Ultra. It's actually a hack of the original Final Fantasy, and also a hack of a previous mod named Final Fantasy -1 by PinkPuff. So, in order to avoid confusion, originally you had the Final Fantasy game from 1987, and in recent years, the game has been hacked quite a lot by a lot of fans, which is quite easy to do because it's such a simple game. And one of the people who's done that is PinkPuff. Now, I don't know if it's a she or a he. I believe it's a she, but I'm not sure. And she made an excellent hack of the original Final Fantasy, including new classes, new dungeons, better AI, a lot of things I liked. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly the game I was hoping to play, so I got my hands dirty and made my own hack of her hack, and there's a lot under the hood. The differences I've made I'll tell you, and if you're not familiar with her hack, well, there's going to be a lot of stuff it's going to be to your liking. Now, the first thing is that the game now has 12 classes. PinkPuff made this possible. I altered her classes drastically. That was the biggest reason I didn't like her hacks, because even though the game had 12 different classes now instead of 6, I found they were all a bit too much of hybrids. And by that I mean they could do a little bit of everything. And I like more when each different class member is specialized in one thing. So I tooled around a lot, and now the game is pretty much the RPG I've always been looking for. Let me tell you about the classes. And it's going to be the theme of this video. We won't have much time to start adventuring on this video. I'm mostly going to be telling you what the classes do. So first is the Viking. He hits hard. He can equip a axe, and that's what he does. He hits hard. Probably the most simple character in the game. I want one in my party because he's not in the original Final Fantasy, and I'm just going to call him Viking. Usually I give him another name, but that might be a bit confusing for any viewers. So, how do you fit his name in 5 decimals? I can make it like this. Now, as you can see, there are now 5 slots to make an name instead of 4. This will lead to a couple of memory issues later on, but that won't be that much of a problem. So we got Viking. Who is a Viking? Now the Rogue, he's very good at running away and improving your encounters by increasing the chance of you getting a surprise attack or decreasing the surprise attacks that you receive from your enemies. He has to be a leader though. Now he luckily has pretty good agility and can wear scale armor, so his armor is not the worst in the game. So he makes a pretty good leader. He can also fight pretty well, but not as good as the Viking. We're not going to take him because he's a bit too much like the thief. Then you have the monk. Just like the black belt in the original Final Fantasy, he can hit quite often. By not equipping a weapon, he gets double attacks. I gave him even more attack rating, so he can get to about 24 hits, I believe, by the time he reaches level 50. He also has access to indirect spells, which is probably the biggest improvement of him. He can cast spells that buff your party members, like shields, invisibility, temper, they hit harder, and fast to hit more often. Now, he hits pretty often, but he doesn't hit as hard as in the original game, but combined with spells like temper and haste, he can hit harder than the Viking. I'm going to skip on him though. The ninja is another leader party because he's a very high evasion. It's very hard to hit. That makes him more effective against enemies that stun and poison and other nasty effects. He can also fight pretty well and can cast black magic. So he's kind of like a hybrid offensive character, and I'm not sure I'm completely content with him, but I still think he's a good addition to the game. I'm going to skip him though because I want fancier characters that cast more indirect spells. Like the cleric. The cleric looks like the white mage, but she can't heal that very well. She can cast the cure spells, which is good enough to be a main healer in a party for this game, but she does not have access to the heal spells, which heal all party members. Her fort, on the other hand, is being able to buff your class members with shields, invisibility, shell, and will to protect against magic, and other nifty stuff. She also has indirect spells like Hex, which I really want to try out this run, which do nasty things to your opponents, although it doesn't kill them. So we're going to take a cleric. Oh yeah, she can be our leader because she can carry shields now and scale armor, so she can take quite a hit. One other thing is she uses hammers, which are not very strong but are extra effective against undead. L. We have it. The Warlock can cast nuke spells. All the spells that do lots of damage to your opponents. And other than that, he can wear, actually it's a she can wear scale armor, so it can take a bit of a beating, but I would definitely not use her as a leader. We're not going to use her though, because I find nuke spells, although effective, to be a bit boring. Now, as you can see, there's a bug here. We have some memory issues. The K is from the name Warlock. I'm not going to explain why, but that's something I just cannot avoid. Unless I use shorter names, but I won't be doing that. It's just the Sage. And the graphics are also messed up. Same thing, memory issues. But trust me, it's a Sage, and in the game, he looks fine. Now, what can the Sage do? He can cast a lot of spells. He can cast all the spells in the game. So he's kind of like a hybrid caster. He also casts them more effectively than other casters, so he's really good in that. Problem is, he doesn't have many spell slots, so you're going to have to be very careful which ones you use. I believe for speed runs, he might be the best class to take. He's not very good at attacking or absorbing damage, so you're going to have to put him in the back of your party. We're not going to be using him either, because I would rather have a wizard. Oh, but before we get to the wizard, we still have the Fool, another graphics issue here. The aura, he looks pretty pathetic. And as you guessed, he can't do anything. Well, like, he can carry a staff and cloth armor, but he's not good at anything specially. He's only in the game in case you want to make it a bit harder. Now you have the Paladin. These graphics are not correct either, but trust me, he looks like a real paladin, kind of like Cecil in Final Fantasy IV. And he can wear plate armor, which is the best armor in the game. Most of what he's good at is passive, basically absorbing hits. He can also wear shields. He can also cast white magic, but not that much, and only the direct spells, which include cure, heal, harm, which is now called holy, and you can also cast wool-like spells, such as shell and will. We're not going to take them though. Oh, there's one last thing about the Paladin. He also uses a hammer, so he doesn't hit very hard. He's a tank and not a damage dealer. The Ranger is the offensive hybrid. He can wear shield and scale armor, so he can also be a pretty good leader. He can use swords, hit pretty hard, and he has access to all the magic in the game, but not many slots. And he also has a pretty low intelligence score, which makes his spells not that effective. In this hack, the intelligence score affects your spells. That's why the Sage can cast them better than other classes. The Ranger can cast a lot of different spells, but not very effectively. There we have the Wizard. No, he doesn't look like the monk, he looks like the old black mage. And he can use a sword, which makes him a pretty good attacker. That combined with his ability to cast black magic that attacks one enemy makes him very good at killing one opponent. He doesn't have access to spells that attack all enemies, such as ice and bolt. So he's not the best caster. If you want to just simply destroy all your opponents with magic, you should take the sorcerer. But The wizard has access to indirect black magic, buffing your fellow class members and doing other nasty things like sleep, stun. So he's a lot of fun to use. Takes a lot of knowledge to use, and I'll be choosing him. That should work, right? Finally, let's be careful because you can't scroll backwards. We have the priest. Priest is also new. Priest is the best healer in the game, and can cast all the spells I mentioned, the paladin, so the holy, heal, cure, and wool. It doesn't have any good armor, pretty good evasion, uses a staff, so it doesn't hit very hard, but you know, healing is just very powerful in this game, and he can do it like nobody else. I think we're going to choose. I'm just going to scroll through everybody again one more time just to make sure I haven't missed a class I want to play. Now we're back at the Viking, and I want the priest. Now we have a pretty good mix of abilities. We have a leader, which is a cleric, not the best in the game, perhaps third or fourth, but considering that we have two healers, we'll definitely manage. I'm going to give it an I because in French the I sounds a bit like an E. So, like magnifique. So we're going to make priest like this. We have a party. A Viking can hit hard. A wizard can hit hard. We're not going to be very good at destroying everybody at the same time. That's fine. That's too easy anyway. We're going to stick to this. Hold on. No. The priest can evade a bit more than the wizard. So it's going to be at number 3. Even though it doesn't really matter, but just to look nice. On to town. This should look familiar. Except this. PinkPuff was very smart and added these 12 guys as a tutorial. I changed the script to tell you about the classes. This guy tells you about the fool. Well, not that much. Just warning you against him. He's for expert players, so let's keep that interesting. This guy tells you about the ninja. You can press pause if you really like to know what they say. It's basically what I just told you. There we have the priest. These guys will tell you what you can equip, which is very handy in the beginning. You're going to have to do some thinking as when it comes to magic. Direct spells are always the top 2 slots in the store, and indirect are always the bottom 2. So keep that in mind. Oh, that was a bit too fast, right? Then we have Paladin. Who do we have here? Nothing? No. Here we have Cynthia. And she tells you not to forget to equip your stuff. I bet most people who played Final Fantasy the first time didn't understand how that worked. So she's there to help with that. Still clean your face. This guy tells you the right powerful orbs. They're at the top left here. Now they're gray and dull. And after you beat a boss, they'll turn all shiny. Let's talk to this guy. Okay. Now there are 2 queens. And she expects to see the light warriors. Well, we'll soon go visit the queens and show her we're here. Here you can revive fallen members. As you can see, he's a cleric of sorts. But none of us are dead, so we don't need his help. Here you can buy items. Cures are a bit more expensive now, but they're also more effective. I wanted them to be expensive so that they were only purchasable for cheap teams. The monk doesn't cost that much money, neither does the Viking because he doesn't have any spells. Cures are more stronger, but you're less likely to buy 99 because of the price. Now, the cleanse potion is your old pure potion, but it's better. In the past, it only cleaned poison. Now it takes away all status problems. So if you're asleep or silent, you can use a cleanse potion and get rid of that. Outside of battle, it gets rid of poison. And the tent is the same as the old tent. You can save the game and heal.